Welcome back to Hashtag Single with Jeanette Bonner. I am not a relationship expert or sex therapist. I'm just a regular New York City woman navigating the world as a single, independent feminist. Hashtag Single is about having honest conversations with other singles in today's device-obsessed culture. So I hope you'll join me on this interesting, challenging, and complex journey as we navigate the ins and outs of singledom. Welcome back to Hashtag Single. I'm Jeanette, your host. It's February. It's the month of love or self-love. I would like to say that. I have two incredible guests with me today. Chloe, thank you so much for being on Hashtag Single with me.
Thank you for having me.
And our voice of the patriarchy today is Steven.
Hi.
Steven said he's very uncomfortable about representing the patriarchy, and I said, too bad. That's
what it is.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You are part of the patriarchy. But no, as I reminded you, and as I've reminded many guests in the past, you do not have to represent all mankind with your opinions. That is a legal disclaimer for anything you are about to say. Opinions are Steven's and Steven's only. As are mine, as are Chloe's. Cool. So, Steven, you know the rules. So you're going to sit back and listen, and then at some point we will invite you to join the conversation and hear all of your opinions and feedback and perspective of everything that's come up with me and Chloe. So great. Thanks for being here. Chloe, yes. You're single.
Yeah.
The rumor has it.
That is a fact.
That is what has to happen for being on here.
Yeah.
That you can be dating as a verb on Hashtag Single, but you have to be single to be on the show.
I'm not even dating.
Girl, tell me everything. What's going on with you? What's happening?
I would say in the romantic area, nothing.
Oh, okay.
Nothing.
You're not alone in that.
I'm like,
I love that you're like not sure.
No.
Is there anything
No.
going on in my life? Like, wait.
No.
Okay.
I did download Tinder for the first time in my life. First
Bravo.
dating app I've ever downloaded.
Okay.
Which I resisted.
Why did you choose Tinder, though?
Well, I was at my friend's wedding, which was on New Year's Eve, and I think I was just like, I was like,
did you download it at the wedding?
Decade. Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No. I was like,
that
at
would
my
be
hotel
a good
room.
story. You're like, this is so boring. I'm going to go on Tinder.
I think, well, all right, we're just diving right in.
Yes, that's how we do here. Yeah.
So up until last year, I'd only dated men, but I always kind of knew I was queer, but was very afraid to be queer. And last year was the first time I let myself date a woman. So I think
incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I think that it's almost like I feel like, not that I've regressed, but yeah, like I'm kind of like, I'm 14 again.
Oh God.
You know?
No one ever wants to go back there.
No, definitely not. And I'm not, because obviously I'm an adult.
But is there a part of you that feels like you have to learn the rules all over again?
Kind of.
And do you feel like it's a different set of rules than from dating men?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, it's different. It's different for many reasons. One, which is like, I think people in New York, it's different. I think people are much more aware of sexuality and gender than other places.
Yeah, true.
But I think for the majority, because I'm a femme presenting person, people I think probably assume I'm straight. Mm-hmm. I don't like give off an obviously like queer vibe from like a cool haircut or something, you know,
like a Brooklyn hipster.
Yeah, like I'm just like not butch
on the.
So yeah, so I think like I have to tell people. I can't just like walk into a room and just assume that the person I'm talking to is going to be interested as well.
Yeah.
Whereas with men, I find it quite obvious when they're interested or they're easier. I don't know. I'm just like...
Easier to read?
Yeah, or something. I think, or maybe that's just because I've only let myself be aware of men or focus on men as a romantic
It might also be,
possibility.
I'm just curious about this, but I'm just wondering, is that part of our socialization, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's always sort of an assumption that there's an undercurrent when you're speaking to men that there might be a sexual interaction with that.
Totally. And I kind of think that I think a lot more people are queer than they realize. I think I'm a big believer of sexuality is fluid and it's on a spectrum. Mm-hmm. And I think society conditions us from a young age to focus on the opposite gender.
Ooh, yeah, totally.
And I think there's a lot of people who may be attracted to the opposite gender or to their own or to a non-binary gender, but because they are attracted to that, what we've been taught is the traditional attraction, and that they are attracted to them, it's kind of easier to stick in that lane, do the socially acceptable, easier thing to do.
Right.
Or what has been traditionally the easier, more accepted thing to do.
Sure.
Which I don't blame them for at all.
Right. I think it takes a lot of effort to rewire your mindset.
Yes.
Or at some point, and obviously I'm not gay, so I haven't had this experience, but from what I've heard from people is that point right around 14 years old, that people are starting to think, maybe I might be gay.
Yes.
And there is a collision of trying to almost come to terms with who I thought I was with who I might actually be.
Yeah.
And that it's almost like a shifting of gears of like, no, I thought I was this, but I'm going to go this way. And I feel like that might be the source of the tension in coming out is like, it's like you're fighting a system. You're swimming upstream.
Yeah. And I think I really conditioned myself to focus on men. And I really pushed down that curiosity for so long. And so I think because the way it happened was very organic. I was at a party and there was a girl there and she just was clearly hitting on me, and I went with it because I'd been in therapy for a while and I had talked about it. So I felt open to.
You're like, this is a gift.
Yeah, I was at a point where I was. I was at a point where I've thought about it a lot, and I'm like, I don't know if she would have hit on me if I hadn't myself been at a place where I felt comfortable with it. Because what I was projecting was openness and flirtation as well. Whereas probably when I was younger,
you might have shut it down.
I would have been like, I will be a robot to you, because I won't even let this be a possibility. Yes. So I think it happened very organically. It was like at the end of a party, like the way, can I get your number? Yeah. Okay. And then
that's so cute.
Kind of a thing. It was super exciting and fun. It didn't end great, but But I think because it opened up this new...
No, it's kind of huge.
Yeah, it was a big thing. And I was like, cool, I'm finally letting myself be more myself. But I also feel, and I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I almost feel a bit behind in that I'm 20,
you lost time.
Kind of. I mean, part of me, I think it happened when it happened,
exactly,
and that's fine.
Exactly.
But I'm 29. And not that that's old, but I feel like of the queer people I know, most of them kind of started figuring it out. Not figuring it out. I think I knew, but I just let themselves explore it earlier. That's also a generalization. There's plenty of examples of that not being the case.
But I understand what you're trying to say. Is like if you felt like you weren't being true to yourself for several years, even if that was just 3 or 4 years.
It was 15.
You could feel like, okay, that's I could see why you would feel like you were behind. It's like and think about how much you grow into your sexuality in your 20s.
Oh my God.
You were discovering sexuality with the wrong people.
Yeah. I mean, and I will say I don't identify as gay. Well, gay in a broader term, but I don't identify as a lesbian. I would say I actually am having trouble deciding
Let's
how
not
I
label
want
it.
to
It's all good.
Labeling annoys me sometimes. But I would say I'm fluid. I'm queer.
That's great.
So it's not that I'm like, men, get away forever. I will never look at you again. But I think right now I'm just feeling much more interested in exploring dating women, non-binary folks that I just never let myself date. So I think with Tinder, going back It's a very long tangent. I think with Tinder, I was like, well, it's an easy way to just like quickly meet people. And it's not even for the goal of finding like my one true love.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, to be like honest, I think it's just I want to have sex.
You're just exploring.
Yeah.
With Does Tinder do they make you, I know OkCupid does this. They have like 10 options of you can choose like trans woman, transgender, gender queer, gender fluid.
No. I mean, for your own identity?
Yeah, like when you're saying like instead of just man seeking woman or whatever, they had like 10 identities you can choose.
It's not that. It's really, I shouldn't be on that app. It's a load of garbage.
This is why I asked you. I fucking hate Tinder. I hate it to the end of my being.
It's so bad. And it doesn't, all it does, there's no rhyme or reason to the people that they give you. It's just 100% random. And you have to scroll through like 100 people to get to one where you're like, well, you're better than the last 100. So.
Well, and I particularly, like anyone who's listened to the podcast, I've talked about several dates that were just completely trashy.
From Tinder.
They were all from Tinder. Yeah. Like I when I hit my third really exceptionally low bar date, I was like, I'm done with this app.
I'm done.
Yeah. It was 2 cokeheads and then the Strawberry Field story. You'll have to go back and listen to it.
I will go back.
I will not poison the ears of people to tell them that story again.
Wow.
But when I say Strawberry Field story, if you've listened to prior episodes, you'll know what the hell that is.
I'm so excited to go back.
I will send you the link. It's tragic. It's one of the reasons I have a podcast, you guys, because and eventually people were like, there's too many of these stories, Jeanette.
They got to go somewhere.
There is a problem.
Yes.
There is a problem happening.
Yeah.
So that's why I personally have a bias against Tinder.
I do too, honestly. I resisted it for so many years. I don't know what made me I think I was just like, the wedding was in this very traditional New England town. Mm-hmm. So I think I also felt a bit like
rebellious.
Can I swear?
I think so.
Okay.
No one's shut me down
your
before.
Podcast. I don't know where I think I am on like morning
We're on
television.
NPR.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Please,
if little ones are listening to hashtag
I'm
single,
about to
please
swear.
cover their ears.
Yeah. I think I was just like, fuck heteronormativity. I'm gonna like. I think I was. Just
I feel that way at weddings, and I'm hetero.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
I get angry when I'm at weddings.
Yeah,
I'm like,
me too.
Everything about this makes me want to like.
Me too.
Like just dry heave.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother. I have a lot of friends getting married right now, and a lot of my like old friends are very straight. So in many ways, I feel like we're on very different paths in terms of like our romantic lives and our sexuality, and more are diverging. And feeling like I don't relate.
I'm feeling that a little bit too, just because my friends from high school have followed a very traditional path.
Mine too.
And I think partially a lot of that has to do with the fact that I went into the entertainment industry.
Me too.
Like a creative field, and like our lives are just incomparable to people that have a standard corporate 9 to 5, like sort of, shall I dare say, predictable life,
right?
Where you sort of that
check
that ladder that everyone talks about, like you're like got the boyfriend, got the ring, wedding, job, promotion, kid, second kid. Like I could see them following that trajectory, and I'm all okay. Well, my life is a squiggly line.
I feel the same way, and you know, there's nothing wrong with following that path if that's what makes you feel full and happy. And it's not to say I wouldn't ever want those things. I'm very, very not sure about children. I would probably get married, but they're all kind of doing the very traditional of like getting engaged. I've gone to so many bachelorette parties and so many weddings, and just so in the very traditional sphere.
And can I also ask you, are they New Yorkers? Are they living in New York?
Mm-hmm. No. And it's actually, okay, so I was just in Philadelphia this past weekend for a friend's 30th birthday party. And I used to live there in Philly. Mm-hmm. And all of those friends are doing a more traditional route. They're not in the arts, which is fine, but they're doing their own jobs, and they're doing, marriage and buying houses and probably having kids soon. Whereas when I go there, I always get a bit triggered by all of it. Even though I don't necessarily actually want it. But I
triggered in a negative way or triggered in like a positive way?
In a negative way. It almost makes me feel like because I'm surrounded by all of these people who are doing all the same thing, and that's sometimes can be the conversation is about all of these things that they're all doing that I'm not doing. It makes me start to give in to that.
Look, these are the things that I should be doing with my life?
It makes me give in to that very traditional thing that society tends to put upon us. Even though when I'm in New York, all of the friends I've made, even if they're in partnerships for whatever reason, it doesn't feel like it dominates our relationship.
It doesn't.
And I think that might just be because of New York.
Yeah, I think this is something that comes up a lot, and we talk about, like, this podcast is specifically about dating in New York. It happens because I'm here because I'm dating in New York. But because I think dating in New York is very
different.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of it's loaded. You know what I mean? There's so many intricacies to it.
Yeah.
And the best I've been able to come up to with people on the podcast as guests is that we don't come to New York in order to find a partner. That's not the number one goal.
100%.
And so if everyone, even the three of us sitting at this table, I would say, my number one goal is in film and in theater, you too, and I mean the three of us, honestly, right? So if that's our number one, and I'm like, no, like that is what I want with my life, and finding a relationship is secondary, then you have an entire city, and this is a huge generalization, but really you have an entire city of single people who are not prioritizing romantic relationships
at all.
So if none of us are prioritizing, that's why we're not fucking dating, because people are like, well, I'm busy this weekend, so whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, I feel so busy all the time that I'm like, how would I even date anybody?
I feel like I've started conversations that have dropped the ball on, and then there's conversations that people just have dropped the ball on me, and I'm all, nah, whatever.
Yeah.
I got shit to do this weekend anyway. You know what I mean? And I'm like, should I care more about this?
Right.
Like, should this be bothering me that we're not actually meeting? I don't know.
I know. That's such a good point, though, that you made about how we all move here. We don't move here to find love.
Right. Why would you? That'd be insane.
That's insane.
It's too expensive.
And I moved here for film. Like, I moved here for career.
Yeah.
That's why I moved here. And right now, and for majority of my adult life, that has been
that's
the
your
priority.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it happens to be that a lot of my guests work in the entertainment industry because I do.
The circles you're in.
Right. So we're seeing a very limited demographic of people here.
It's so true.
If you're single and you work in finance, I would love to have you on the podcast.
Please come on the podcast.
Let's talk it out.
I do have a couple friends in New York that are not. I have a few friends in New York that are not in entertainment.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
They're actually mostly coupled up. Now that I think about it.
I do too, but I will say, like, thinking of them sort of generally, I felt like their priorities, I'm thinking specifically about two guy friends I have right now, has been their job. Yes. And then once they felt really good in the job, then they got serious about finding a mate.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think that really, you come to New York for very specific, I think, sort of life reasons.
Totally.
And our number one isn't always about getting a partner.
No. Which is funny because when I was in my probably like mid-20s, I was in a long-term relationship until I was about like 23. And then that ended. And I would say mid-20s-ish, I was very upset about being single. Like I was very focused on it all the time. I also didn't live in New York yet.
Yeah.
I think I was also less clear about career, what I wanted to be doing. And for some reason in the past I don't know, when I first moved to New York, maybe I was sad about it, but I think that actually was just loneliness. And I translated it to being, I need a romantic partner. But now I have more friends than I can handle. Like I'm like, I can't have any more friends. I don't have the time for any more.
Wow. She's booked, you guys.
Yeah, I'm booked. So
not
if you want
any applicants,
hang out. Let me know now for 1 month in advance.
She has a waiting list for 2021.
But I don't feel lonely. I have all these friendships that I genuinely enjoy.
Yeah.
And people I genuinely enjoy. So I don't feel that like aching loneliness anymore. Not to say I wouldn't welcome a romantic relationship, but I don't find myself thinking about it actually all the time, despite the fact that
I think you bring up a good point. I think about the times that I tend to reach for my app.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just using one right now, but like the times that I reach for the phone to check the apps are in times of loneliness.
For sure. Which is like when we reach for our phone all the time.
True story.
Good anything.
Point. Yes. But I'm like, it's always like when I find myself, it's Friday night and I'm on the couch and I'm like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I should be on a date.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Whereas if I had had plans with friends, that thought would never have crossed my mind.
Right.
It's like
exactly.
I want to be dating to fill an emptiness in my life, which is not necessarily healthy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
We all just got really sad for a second. We were like, ugh.
No, it's funny. I was just at therapy before I came here, and I was talking to my therapist
This is therapy. What are you talking about?
No, it feels like I'm just continuing therapy.
This is my therapy.
So I brought this up with my therapist, which was that I was talking to a friend who lives in New York. Mm-hmm. She is not in the arts. She actually moved to New York for her boyfriend. So did move for love. But they were already together, and she followed him here. And I was telling her about how I downloaded Tinder, and she said, and she truly is a lovely person, and I know I don't think she understood what this sounded like, but she was like, Chloe, I feel like this is the year you're going to meet someone. And I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah,
sure,
I probably will meet someone.
Yeah, you probably will.
I've met someone every year. But I think her implication was, or the way it felt was like, you are missing something.
Yep. And that's come up several times when we talked about this podcast.
Yeah.
Like being single is not a state that needs to have an end to it.
Oh, that needs to be fixed.
Exactly.
Which it's treated that way oftentimes. Or like, I mean, I could go on forever. Like my cousin's wife, who's a very like loud, gregarious person, she once said, she was like, oh, we need to find you a man. Also, she doesn't know about
like,
my
do we?
orientation. So I was like, maybe, I don't know.
Definitely what I don't need.
I don't know. But it's just like, yeah, this assumption that if you're single, you're sad. Mm-hmm. If you're single, you're missing something.
Yep.
And if you're single, you want to be partnered.
Yes.
Which I think I also, I mean, I don't know. I kind of debate with myself a lot of how much am I fine being single, which I genuinely am. I don't go to bed every night like crying into my pillow.
Truly, yeah.
I'm like, thank God I can share this queen bed only with myself.
Not for nothing. That's like
sharing beds.
The best feeling.
But I also recognize that like how much armor have I put up upon myself to be fine with it, because
to convince yourself that you don't need anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which it's like, I've been in love before. It's nice. Like, I get it.
It's also
a nice thing.
Very traumatic.
It's also, and I think a lot of my personal, like, emotional trauma has come from romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And also, just because you're in a relationship does not mean your life is happy or perfect.
Yes.
There's so much complication that comes with being in a relationship, and it's not simple.
One of my favorite things to do when I'm out to dinner with girlfriends is we look around to see who's on like the worst couple date. There's always that couple, both of them are on their phones and there's just
talking.
Silence between them.
It's horrible.
And we look and we're like, who's got the better life now, bitch?
Right, exactly.
I'm like, I will be single for the rest of my life if that's the alternative.
Yeah.
Kill me. Kill me if I go out to dinner
I know.
and we're so annoyed at each other that we both go on Instagram at the same time.
I know.
It's so sad.
I used to wait tables for many, many years, and I would play that game. I would play many games about couples of being like, oh, this is clearly, it's new. They're on the fourth date. Or like, it's the first date. Or like, they've been together for 15 years and they don't care about
They're bored of each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What else is on your mind? Anything? Because you said you had lots to talk about. So what else has been, I don't want to say bothering you and assume the negative, but anything, any thoughts you've had around dating, any obstacles, frustrations?
I mean, I will also say, I mean, I think I feel frustrated sometimes by how much these like societal messages have gotten into my own head of like, so I'm turning 30 in March.
You mean the patriarchy?
The patriarchy.
Oh, the lights flickered. Did you guys feel that?
A draft. I mean, also just like I'm turning 30 in March, which that brings up feelings for me beyond dating, but also just being aware of as humans, it's very hard to not compare yourself to other people. Yeah. I hope I'm not alone in that.
You're not.
So I do find myself comparing myself to other friends at my own age. And I think I have like one other friend that's single that's 30. Everyone else. But again, all of those friends are not living in New York for the most part. But everyone's getting married, settling down.
Already?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
I'm 10 years older than you, and I feel like that's so early to be doing that.
Yeah. But I think because I've been surrounded by also this group of friends that are all now getting married, they've all been with their partners for like 5 years. Oof. Like they all got together in their mid-20s.
I was not ready to commit to anybody in my 20s.
Which would make sense why I felt so bad in my mid-20s, because I was surrounded by this group of people that were all finding like the person they were spending their life with. And I wasn't. I'm still not, which is fine. But it kind of makes you question, like, am I doing it right? Or like, should I be following that path? Which I know it doesn't matter. You can do whatever the heck you want, and there's no timeline on it. But it does feel, I don't know. It's hard to not compare timelines.
It's like the subtlety and the subtext of those messages that have been fed to us throughout our lives, not in really like a strong verbal way, like specifically taught from your parents, but like even just watching commercials, like watching film, the messages that we receive on a constant basis of like where you as a proper model of society and member of society are quote unquote supposed to be at in your life at some point, or what you're supposed to look like at a certain age.
Sure.
Like you can't, to undo it would be insane. Like there's things that we're not even realizing are in play right now.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to rewrite your path and your life.
Yeah. And
deliberately.
Yes. And it's hard sometimes when you're surrounded by people who don't, or who have a mindset that lines up with a broader mindset in society.
I think there's also something when you're talking about being 30. This made me think of a former episode we had with my friend Diane. Mm-hmm. She was turning 30 and the same year decided to come out to her parents as pansexual.
Sure.
And so there was a lot of confluence of like identity of the identity of turning 30. I'm an adult woman. Yeah. Changing your perceived identity to your parents, and also just like trying to explain what pansexuality was.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah.
But like, there's something about that coming of age time, where you really are coming into an ownership of who you are.
Right.
There's a lot of strife around that, so I understand what you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, and also, Well, I was just thinking, because I've done the whole coming out to my parents thing, which was hard.
Did they respond positively?
Mostly. Yes.
Were there questions? Did they say, what is a pansexual?
I didn't use any. I actually told them by saying I was dating a woman.
Okay.
I think I always was just like, I will tell them when there's something to tell. Yeah. Because I think I felt so unsure about it, even though I knew.
Well, it's smart because you're just giving the information and then letting them make the assumption around it. So instead of you coming out and saying like, I am bisexual or I am queer, you're just like, I'm me, but I'm dating a woman.
Exactly. I think I'm just, in general, I'm not very good at commitment, so I didn't want to like commit to this identity and then be like, wait. Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about, I'm reading a book. I'm really excited. I have a guest expert for the month of February who is writing a book about sexual self-awareness. She's not writing a book. She wrote the book.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk to her next week. And so I'm reading her book right now. Great. I'm really excited about it. And she's talking about how sexuality is actually made up of, I don't know why I'm talking about this before the podcast episode comes out, but it's in my brain. I might edit this out, whatever. It's about sexuality is like made up of about 7 components, like more components than we think about. And 2 of those, one of them is sexual attraction and one of them is emotional attraction. Yeah. And that was the first time that I was like, oh my God, I'm so not emotionally attracted to men. Like I just had this thought where I was like, men fucking drive me bananas. Yeah. Like they piss me off, they make me cranky, but I'm very sexually attracted to men.
Right.
So I was like, well, that I totally understand how people could be on that like sexual fluidity because
For sure.
you're emotionally attracted to one quality but sexually attracted to another quality.
Yeah. I mean, I generally find I'm emotionally attracted to someone. The sexual attraction doesn't come unless I'm emotionally attracted to them.
Also that, like it's so intricate.
It's quite rare that I look at a person, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I gotta, like...
Don't even talk to me, I'm in.
Like, yeah, I'm like...
No words need to be spoken.
Yeah, like usually if you open your mouth and you're a dum-dum, I'm gonna be like,
eek.
ew,
Oh,
ew. Yeah.
Wow, that work is not working for you.
Not working.
It's a disservice.
Yeah. But yeah,
no, that's true. But like that's what she's saying. Like these eight elements are actually, it's so much more involved than just being like, oh yeah, I'm sexually attracted to this.
Yeah.
There's all these
It's
elements.
So, yeah. And I have a good friend who's queer and she always says, you know, who your partner is does not define your sexuality, which is true.
Yeah.
Just because you're dating some person of some gender does not mean that is the type of gender you're always attracted to.
Totally.
But we have a tendency to assume that.
Yeah.
You know, like if we see two women together, we're like, they're lesbians. But like, they might not identify.
I will say it's like, it's just in the recent years that we've even like had the words to describe the possibility that sexuality is not binary.
Yeah.
And not just sexuality, but also gender in general.
Totally.
Like this is sort of, it's not a new concept.
It's not.
It's
been around. Yeah.
What's a word that I want to use? It's a new language.
Yes.
For our culture. So everyone's trying to navigate it a little bit.
Yeah. So I think me being I think it's just I am figuring out so much personally that the idea of like dating one person exclusively, or the goal is to find a partner, like a serious partner, doesn't feel what I'm interested at the moment anyway.
Good.
Because I feel like I'm newly exploring a part of myself. Yeah. But again, going back to the whole friends thing, I do find it can be challenging to be, like I have this group of friends that are all very straight and getting married, whereas I'm like single and being like, sexual fluidity. You have to find your community. So it can be isolating.
Yeah.
With those types of people, as loving as they are and as accepting as they are, you have to
find
relate.
a new community of people that are on the same page and understand your lifestyle. They're New Yorkers in the entertainment industry. You'll find us.
Oh yeah, no, I've found them. They're here in New York. They're just not elsewhere, or at least in my life.
Yeah, we don't need those other people.
Yeah. But again, it's like my friend who was like, oh, I feel like this is the year you're going to meet someone. Is like, well, that's also presumptuous that's what I want.
Oh, yeah. No, I would. Yeah. I'm glad that person did not say that to me because I would have just launched in there.
Yeah. So I find it, which I do feel, I don't know how you feel, but I do feel people generally kind of subtly imply that all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, which is infuriating.
Yeah. And I know it doesn't come from a malicious place.
No,
like they always say, no, I just want to see you happy. I just want to see what's best for you. And then I'm like, but I am happy right now. So why are you, you know what I mean? Like there's,
yeah.
Thank you for saying that. That's really nice. Anyway, how are you? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's like I have such a trigger response to anything around that.
Yes.
My parents have literally just stopped asking me about dating.
Good. I will say
it never comes up whatsoever.
I will give my parents a lot of credit that they've never actually asked me about dating unless I bring it up. And they've never pressured me into.
We're lucky, I think.
No, I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
Because I think there are plenty of parents that would be like, you're turning 30.
Yeah.
Where's the...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
And even more so when you turn 40.
Uh-oh.
Scary. I know. It happens.
Yes.
Shall we turn over to Stephen?
Hi.
Stephen.
Hello.
Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear anything that came up for you while you were listening. Any thoughts? Any personal experiences?
Oh, I mean, like so many. I mean, first of all, when you first mentioned about Tinder, I was like,
why are you doing it?
No,
I know.
why are you doing it?
Can I just clarify? I'm not doing it.
We're gonna get
serious.
sued.
I'm not doing. I'm not doing it in a serious
Sure.
way at all.
Yeah. I mean,
I just want you to know I have my own best interest at heart as well.
good. Because
I've met no one. I have not met anyone.
Well, when I first came to New York, I've been here for like 10 months, nearly a year or so. So when I first came here, I was like, I just come out of a relationship. I was like, I'm gonna, if I start dating again, I just want to meet people naturally. That lasted about 3 weeks.
That's what I would prefer too.
Yeah. And then I went on all of the apps,
Sure.
the good and the bad ones, and met like crazy. And I feel like when you get New York, which is crazy, and you get the apps, which is crazy, you're just like, And then I came off them again.
Okay.
But then met someone really randomly.
Oh.
So
From an app or like in real
In
life?
no,
real
in real life.
Wow.
Like,
It's a nice feeling.
but bizarrely, like the story's crazy. So we met at the end of we were both having kind of wild nights where we didn't expect to meet anyone.
Okay.
We ended up chatting shit to each other for a couple of hours because we were really hammered. I thought he was Irish, then left because I was like really hammered.
Was he Australian?
Was he Irish?
I mean,
what
people
was
ask me
he?
if I'm Australian all the time. Well, so this is it's
What
really
was
weird.
he?
I leave this club really abruptly because I'm like, I'm too fucked to have to
You had
leave.
an Irish exit?
Yeah, I had an Irish accent. But then I was like, what the fuck are you doing? That guy's really cool. You should go back and get his number.
Oh my god, so cute.
I'm walking back in and I'm like, you come here, I need to talk to you outside. And then we get outside and I hear his accent. And I'm like, where are you from? And he's like, England. And I'm like, yes, but where? He's from the same fucking hometown.
No!
Right? Then it gets to it.
Why did you think he was Irish?
Oh, because we were all hammered and it was loud.
okay,
Right. And he's
okay.
been living here for
I
like
think
20
it was a
years.
sexual
Gotcha.
projection.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Irish boys, woof. But then it gets like weirder because then it was like, well, so am I. And then I'm like, well, give me a number. What's your name? Stephen.
No!
Oh no. How does that feel?
I love same-sex
There's one
relationships.
I will say I've come across girls with my name, and I'm like 100% no.
Exactly.
Even
No,
if you
like,
seem cool.
I don't want to be the Stevens, right?
Yeah.
But then I was like, let's do 3 for 3. So I'm like, what do you do? He's a fucking theatre director.
Oh wow.
Like, it's crazy.
It's meant to be.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be just another
Or
car
it will.
crash in my fucking dating life in New York.
Oh my
Because
God.
it's crazy. I mean, he'll dump me next week because they always do. Because people here are crazy.
Yes.
Tell me more about that. What does that mean?
Well, in fairness to him, and maybe whatever, I've never been able to get past date 3 with anyone in New York.
I think that's a similar experience. Yeah.
Like, I don't know
But
what
does that feel
happens.
different than how it is back home?
Yeah.
How
Like,
so?
look, London is a thing on itself, but it was really interesting. You picked up on it as well when you said about people don't come to New York for love. I think people do in London. I think people very much go around wanting to fall in love in London. Like,
Wow.
And there's a lot of intensity there. But then it suddenly made sense to me when you said that. I was like, of course, everyone's here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here. Like, I came.
None
here
of
for my
us are
career.
here.
None of us came to New York. Although
very
I had
true
this moment when I first got here where I went and sat in Times Square on my own. Like, I got here like a day before I was going to meet all my friends and stuff, and I just wanted like this day of just like doing all like the ridiculous New Yorky stuff. And I ended up sitting in Times Square at like 10 p.m. or something, just going like, okay, I live here now. And then I was like, oh my God, my best friend is somewhere in the city, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
But then I went, shit, maybe my boyfriend's here as well. But then I had dread. Like, there was just like this dread.
You mean like a future boyfriend?
Yeah.
And then a dread of meeting
like,
him?
Well, just
Or
like,
of being-
I think it was the realization that it was like, oh fuck, I've got to go through all of this again. Do you know what I mean? And like what you were saying before, like when you're staring down the barrel of 40, like this takes on this whole new, like it's like jumping into all of the things that have come up, like, and like with parents, my parents have like now just stopped asking me because like it was just like, why can't you?
Poor thing.
I know. It was at one point it was like, why can't you settle down? Just settle down. What is wrong with you that you can't settle down? So there's like this voice,
And
in
then
your
it's a
head.
voice that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
When
Like
there's
what is?
not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, dating here is crazy. It's really interesting coming out of a thing and then being back in the dating world because I've had like 2 kind of major, kind of quite lengthy, like lengthy 5-6 year relationships, and when I've come out of both of those things, the whole scene has changed in like a really crazy way. So
Yeah.
it's like I do not have the tools for this.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling that I've been getting lately, like in this city. Like I don't have the tools to handle what dating is here. And also all of the currency that I thought I had. you know, it's just like good humor, like I'm enthusiastic or whatever. It just gets, because I'm not from here, it just gets read really, really
Differently.
Yeah, like wrong. Like I invited this guy. We had like, I was letting him kind of lead the journey of dating, because I was kind of like, I just don't get this. I just don't understand what's going on here. So I was kind of let him set the pace. I'm aware that I'm a big personality. So he was kind of like organizing all the dates. He was leading the text conversations. He was getting kind of intense. Like, you know, I'd get the I miss you text and all this kind of shit. And then the first real date I invited him to would have been like it would have been our third date. And I got invited to like a gala opening. Cool. And I thought that's a really cool thing to do. And I invited him. I was like, there's this thing I want to do next Friday. Do you want to come? I've been invited. Come and be my date. And he just like freaked out at me about how I was getting heavy. And I'm just like, what?
But he was saying, I miss you?
I mean, I literally just pulled up the text message and I'm like, dude, read. Like,
yeah.
Anyone with any kind of smarts whatsoever, you get invited to a gala, first date, 85th date, strangers, you say yes.
You say yes.
That's fun.
This is a fucking gala in New York.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We're going to discredit that person.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question, because did you, what age were you when you had to come out to your family?
Well, I was outed when I was 17.
I'm
to
so
my
sorry.
entire. No, I mean, it was funny. Like, my aunt outed me in front of my entire family.
How did your aunt know?
Because she was in the same club that I was in the night before with her gay friends, and saw basically my very first kiss with a guy.
But she's not gay.
No, but like she works in like hair and beauty and stuff.
Okay.
So she's around a lot of gay guys.
Yeah.
So I was out kind of exploring these avenues at about 17 or so. And she basically saw me, and I didn't know she was there. And I was like with this guy, and it was like the first time I'd ever I'd been going out to these gay clubs for like a few weeks and just kind of like toying with it and speaking to my friends about, am I bisexual? What does this mean? You know, I'm not going to class it, whatever. And it was the first time I'd ever kissed a guy in like a meaningful way, basically. And then we're all having like Friday night dinner the next night, and my aunt goes down this path of, where were you last night? Blah 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 blah. And I, as the line of questioning's going, I'm like, holy shit! Like, and I could see where this is leading. And I was, I'm like 17 years old. I was terrified. I come from like a small town in the UK, so I just did not know, this in the
how it was
90s.
mirrored.
I just did not know how it was going to be
Yeah.
received. And she had information that I didn't, so I was kind of like,
That's not fair.
Yeah. And anyway, the final question was, who was the guy you were kissing? And then my mum is like, Stephen, are you gay? And I was like, I'm 17. I don't know what I am.
17.
Yeah, I'm just 17. And then I got really upset. And then my aunt and my other aunt were like high-fiving each other, going, knew he was queer, blah, 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 blah. I think it was really funny. And then my grandmother exited the room quite upset. And so my mum went after her. And then I said to my mum, like, why did you do that? That was really uncool. Yeah. And she was like, because I knew you would have tortured yourself. I was trying to be kind to you. And I was like, why don't you just ask for my bio?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
or had a private conversation.
Why didn't you talk to me about it first?
Yeah, not in front of an entire.
Yeah.
Did you
But
ever?
everyone was cool.
Did you ever feel, though, anything that what Chloe was talking about, where you had an expectation about what your life was supposed to look like, what it should look like, and
absolutely.
then you feeling like you were not in line with what was expected with you?
Oh, I mean, like, even right now, like, I'm 38 years old. I thought that by now I would, I mean, like, not married, like, I don't believe in the institution, but I thought I would be in a long-term relationship. I'd maybe be thinking about kids. I'd be in a lot more stable romantic place than I am. And I'm kind of, and it's interesting because I draw this line, I'm kind of crossing this line where I don't, like, ultimately I know that I'm good. I'm just at where I'm at and I'm happy and life is really, really great. But then there is that nagging voice, you were saying about the society stuff, there is that nagging voice in the back of my head that somewhere along the line I failed in my potential or something. And, then all of like the self-nonsense comes in. It's like, I'm lovable. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, all of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, there was definitely, again, even as a queer guy from a small British town, there is an expectation of this heteronormative idea of what you should be by the time you get into your late 30s.
Yeah.
That's conditioned. And I try to believe that I'm like this free spirit who kind of runs around the world having a bit of a laugh, being a creative, working in theatre and film, whatever. But there's still that nagging conservatism there sometimes that can be a real struggle, especially when you're in a new city and you're on your own and you're like, why don't I have a handle on this?
Totally.
I really hope that like the next generation, I think this is definitely as we're coming into a culture that is starting to understand sexuality differently, I really hope that this is just like we're the last generation of people that have to handle and deal with this, and that the generation after us is just going to be a little, the path is just going to be a little easier for them.
I feel hopeful. I feel positive about that. Optimistic, actually.
Yeah.
At least
same.
And just think about it. Yeah. All of this angst, it fuels our art, you guys.
It fuels our art.
Just write a damn play, Stephen.
Yeah, no, it's true. Right. Although it'd just be like me waiting for a text to be returned, like freaking out. So I just don't know how interesting a play that is.
That would be a terrible play.
Do you know what I mean? Like, just what's wrong? Why aren't you responding? Three dots, shit.
You guys, thank you so much for being here and being vulnerable and open with me. I really enjoyed listening to your stories, and I appreciate the trust you've given me with your information in this crazy conversation of trying to figure out what the hell's going on in our world. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. And that's it for #single, you guys. We will catch you next time.